A mysterious voice saves a woman seconds before a fatal accident. Rain poured relentlessly over the city. Neon lights blurred across the wet streets like fading memories while thousands of strangers rushed through the night without ever looking at one another. The city was alive, but Isabella Carter felt completely invisible inside it. At 29 years old, Isabella had mastered the art of pretending she was okay. At work, she smiled politely. With friends, she laughed at the right moments. Online, her life looked perfect. But behind closed doors, exhaustion had consumed her long ago. Every morning felt heavier than the last. Every night felt emptier. Her apartment was silent except for the hum of distant traffic and the ticking clock beside her bed. And lately, something inside her had begun breaking. Not dramatically, not loudly, quietly, like a soul slowly losing the strength to continue carrying its own pain. 3 months earlier, Isabella's mother had died unexpectedly after a long illness. Since then, life no longer felt real. The grief followed her everywhere. In elevators, coffee shops, train stations, even moments of happiness felt temporary now. As though the world had permanently lost its color. That Friday night, Isabella left work later than usual. The storm outside had grown violent. Cold rain hammered the sidewalks while thunder echoed between skyscrapers. Most people hurried to escape the weather, but Isabella walked slowly, aimlessly. Her mind was drowning somewhere far deeper than the storm around her. She barely noticed the traffic lights changing, barely heard the sirens in the distance. Her thoughts replayed the same painful memories over and over again. Her mother's final words, the hospital room, the silence. Afterward, the unbearable feeling that she had somehow become completely alone in the world. As Isabella approached a crowded intersection downtown, the rain intensified. Cars sped through flooded streets, spraying water across the pavement. People pushed past her beneath umbrellas without making eye contact. Everything felt chaotic. Loud. Blurred. And then it happened. A voice whispered directly beside her ear, "Stop walking." Isabella froze instantly. Her heart skipped violently. The voice sounded clear. Close. Almost intimate. Not loud. Not aggressive. Calm. She turned around immediately. Nobody was there. Only strangers moving through the storm. Her breathing became uneven. For a moment, she wondered if grief and exhaustion were finally affecting her mind. But the feeling lingered. Something about the voice felt real, deeply real, shaken. Isabella looked toward the crosswalk. The pedestrian signal flashed white. People began crossing the street. She hesitated. Then suddenly, a black SUV exploded through the red light at terrifying speed. Screech! The vehicle tore through the exact spot where Isabella would have been standing only seconds earlier. A man nearby screamed. Another woman dropped her umbrella in shock. The SUV slammed into a traffic pole before spinning violently into another lane. Glass shattered everywhere. Metal twisted. People panicked instantly, but Isabella could not move. Her body stood frozen in the rain while her mind replayed the voice again and again. Stop walking. If she had taken one more step, she would have died. The realization hit her like ice water flooding through her veins. Someone had warned her, but who? That night, Isabella barely slept. Rain tapped softly against her apartment windows, while shadows moved across the walls from passing headlights outside. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the accident again, the speeding SUV, the shattered glass, the exact place she would have been standing, and the voice. That voice. Soft. Calm. Certain. Around 3:17 a.m., Isabella sat up suddenly in bed. A strange feeling crawled through her chest. Not fear. Awareness. As if someone invisible was standing nearby, watching silently. She turned on the bedside lamp immediately. Nothing. The apartment remained empty. Yet somehow, It no longer felt empty. The following days became increasingly strange. At first, Isabella convinced herself the voice had simply been a stress-induced hallucination. Apella convinced herself hallucination, psychological response caused by grief and trauma. That explanation sounded logical. Safe. But deep down, she knew it wasn't true because the voice came back. 3 days later, Isabella stood inside a crowded subway station during rush hour, people packed shoulder to shoulder, beneath flickering fluorescent lights while trains roared through underground tunnels. She stared absent-mindedly at her phone while waiting near the edge of the platform. Then suddenly moved back. The voice returned. Sharp this time. Urgent. Isabella immediately stepped backward in shock. 1 second later, a man rushing through the crowd slammed violently into the exact space where she had been standing. Force sent another commuter stumbling dangerously toward the tracks. Gasps erupted nearby. The train thundered past only moments later. Again. The voice had protected her. This time, Isabella knew she wasn't imagining it. Someone or something was speaking to her, and somehow, it knew things before they happened. Fear slowly began replacing confusion. Who was the voice? Why was it helping her? And why her? Weeks passed. The mysterious warnings continued. Small things at first. Don't answer that call. Take another street home. Leave now. Each warning prevented something terrible. A robbery. A collapsing scaffold near a construction site. Drunk drivers speeding through an intersection. It became impossible to ignore. The voice was saving her. Life. Again. And again. And again. But Isabella noticed something even stranger. The voice never sounded threatening. Never controlling. It felt protective. Familiar. Almost comforting. Like someone who had known her for a very long time. One evening, unable to handle the fear any longer, Isabella finally spoke aloud inside her apartment. Who are you? Silence filled the room. Then softly, I'm trying to help you. Her entire body went cold. The voice had answered. Not from outside, not through the walls. Inside, her mind. Yet it still sounded completely real. Isabella backed away slowly. Tears filled her eyes. What do you want from me? A long pause followed. Then, you're not supposed to die yet. Those words haunted her for days. Not supposed to die yet. As if her life served some purpose she could not yet understand. Soon, Isabella became obsessed with finding answers. She researched near-death experiences, guardian angels, spiritual awakenings, unexplained voices, and psychic phenomena late into the night. Most explanations sounded ridiculous, others terrified her. Mental illness, auditory hallucinations, trauma, responses, but none of them explained the impossible accuracy of the warnings. Then one night, Isabella discovered an old online forum discussing people who claimed mysterious voices had saved their lives before fatal accidents. Most stories sounded unbelievable, except one. A woman described hearing a calm voice moments before surviving a bridge collapse. The details felt disturbingly familiar. At the bottom of the post was a single sentence. Sometimes the universe speaks through the voice you trust most. Those words stayed in Isabella's mind. The voice you trust most. Suddenly, memories surfaced. Small forgotten moments from childhood. Times she narrowly avoided. Danger because of sudden instincts she could never explain. Warnings she ignored. Feelings she dismissed. What if the voice had always been there? Watching silently, guiding her. Waiting for the moment she would finally listen. One rainy evening, Isabella visited the church her mother used to attend. The building was nearly empty. Candles flickered softly beneath stained glass windows while distant thunder echoed outside. For the first time in months, Isabella sat quietly without speaking. Without crying. Without pretending. She simply listened. And in the silence, The voice returned again. You're afraid because you think you're alone. Tears filled her eyes instantly. The voice sounded gentler now, almost emotional. Who are you? She whispered. Then finally the answer came. Not as words, but as realization. A memory. Her mother sitting beside her bed during thunderstorms when she was a child. Her mother whispering softly, always trust the voice inside you that protects your peace. Isabella's breathing trembled. The truth hit her slowly. The voice was not a stranger. It was connected to her. To intuition. To something beyond logic and fear. Whether it was divine guidance, her subconscious, or something spiritual beyond human understanding. She no longer cared. Because for the first time since her mother died, Isabella no longer felt abandoned. Months later, Isabella's life changed completely. Not because the voice magically solved her problems, but because it awakened something inside her. She stopped ignoring her instincts, stopped forcing herself into toxic relationships, stopped living disconnected from herself. For the first time in years, she felt present, alive. One quiet night, Isabella stood alone on a rooftop overlooking the glowing city skyline. The storm clouds had finally disappeared. Soft wind moved through the silence while lights shimmered endlessly below. Then suddenly, the familiar voice whispered one final time. You survived for a reason. Isabella closed her eyes and smiled through tears, because now she understood. The greatest miracle was never the voice itself. It was the fact that someone who had nearly given up on life had finally found the courage to live again.